Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday, September 10th, 5:24 a.m. Central Time. Grain markets mostly lower this morning. December corn futures down 1 3/4 at 405 and a half. November soybeans down 11 3/4 at 1006 and a quarter. December Chicago wheat down a half cent at 568. December Kansas City wheat up a half at 576 and a quarter. December spring wheat is down 1 at 605 3/4. Let's start off with this French wheat story.
American flour mills are importing European wheat. Nearly 27,000 tons of French wheat will soon be delivered to Ardent Mills in Albany, New York. Since the season began back in July, about 53,000 tons of European wheat have been shipped to the U.S. Millers on the eastern side of the U.S. have turned to cheaper European wheat supplies rather than purchasing grain from the Midwest. The trade comes despite France harvesting one of its worst crops on record due to excessive rainfall.
The headline sounds bad for U.S. wheat prices and for demand in general, and it's not good. This is business that was done several months ago, I think before France ran into these crop problems, and it's not anything new that U.S. wheat is non-competitive on the export market. And it just so happens that several months ago, we were so non-competitive that it made sense for the U.S. to import a little bit of wheat from France. We see this same thing in soybeans and also in corn, as a matter of fact, every single year. If you look at USDA's balance sheets, you'll see imports of corn and soybeans, very small amounts every year. And that's what this is. The U.S., when it comes to wheat, has just become such a smaller player over the years. Wheat producers were like less than 7% of global wheat production. And I've had this graphic before, which is really pretty staggering when you think about it. Global wheat exports, we were 50% of global wheat exports in the 1970s, and now we're 10%. So Europe, the Black Sea in particular, the rise of the Black Sea and Russia has made the U.S. just a residual supplier, apparently to itself now also, which is not necessarily good news.
Tropical Storm Francine is expected to develop into a hurricane before making landfall. The storm is gaining strength in the Gulf of Mexico and is expected to be a Category 2 hurricane when it reaches southern Louisiana on Wednesday. Winds in excess of 96 to 100 miles per hour are expected. Francine could produce a storm surge of up to 10 feet and rainfall of up to 12 inches. Evacuation orders have been issued in some coastal communities where widespread flooding is expected. Louisiana's governor has already issued a statewide declaration of emergency.
There's absolutely going to be some rain dumped across the mid-south and even into the southern Corn Belt. It looks like it's going to hit ground in what would be Louisiana, I guess, on Thursday, and then up into the like southern part of the Corn Belt by Friday, Saturday. The rainfall totals that are being projected, it doesn't, as of right now, and this could be drastically different by the time it actually happens, but you're going to see heavy rains in the Gulf Coast area up into, West Tennessee, southern third of Illinois. It's not going to help to fix the river issues, not at least according to the government forecasts this morning. It looks like the river is going to drop like another foot just over the next couple of days, and we're still in restrictive territory here. This is very important as it relates to soybean shipments, and we're going to get to that here in a second.
So if you guys have not checked out our premium content, you sure need to do so. Joe, can you tell me about some of our recent premium videos?
I did an extremely popular video with Pete Meyer on Thursday last week. It was a mailbag video, 57 minutes uncut with Pete Meyer. We asked him questions about markets, grain marketing, biofuels, SAF, 45Z, renewable diesel. There's so much going on, and Pete is an expert in this stuff. He knows what's going on in every sector of this. It's extremely interesting. Yesterday, I did a kind of a marketing video, DIY premium pricing with options. So you guys have been pitched, premium pricing contracts or accumulators by your grain buyer is where you'll hear this stuff. But you can also do it on the board. And I ran through a pretty basic example. And actually what I found out after I did the video was that this was maybe slightly too advanced for a lot of our subscribers. So in today's video, I'm going to do a super back to basics, put options 101 type video, which I haven't done in a long time, as a matter of fact, but that was requested by a lot of people. So that'll be today's premium video. If you guys want to see the premium stuff, go to standardgrain.com. You can sign up this morning. It's a $50 per month subscription. You can cancel at any time. No other fee, no other obligation. Nobody tries to sell you anything else. Our morning email goes out every single business day at 5 a.m. Central Time. It's your normal grain market newsletter, plus all of our premium videos, all of my cash grain marketing recommendations. Ton of stuff in there. Check that deal out this morning, guys.
Planting of Brazil's first corn crop is slightly behind last year's pace. According to well-followed private group Ag Rural, as of last Thursday, 15% of the crop was planted. During the same week last year, 17% of the crop had been planted. Low soil moisture, along with hot and dry weather, has kept Brazilian farmers from starting to plant this season's soybean crop. With minimal rain and hot temperatures in the forecast, soybean planting will likely remain at a standstill.
Yeah, typically you would have seen a soybean planting number by now. The first corn crop is only 20 or 25% of production. I don't know if anybody's going to get too worked up about that. Really not much rain in the forecast, and it's very early still. We could go probably another month without rain, and I don't know that it's going to make a huge difference. None of these groups have reduced production estimates or anything like that based on the dryness. It's just for now, it's what I would call a minor delay. Soybean futures are down 11 cents this morning, so they clearly are not interested in this.
U.S. corn conditions declined slightly last week. The crop was rated 64% good to excellent nationally as of Sunday, compared to 65% the prior week. The rating was in line with the trade expectation of 64% and was the best for the week since 2018. USDA estimates that 5% of the crop is harvested nationally versus 3% on average. U.S. soybean conditions were reported at 65% good to excellent nationally as of Sunday, unchanged from the prior week. The rating surpassed the trade expectation of 63% and was the best for the week since 2020. USDA estimates that 25% of the crop is dropping leaves versus 13% last week and 21% on average.
To see corn and soybean conditions in the mid 60s, good to excellent this time of year, it's a very strong rating. I feel like the trade doesn't really care a whole lot about crop ratings this late in the growing season. It's like a June, July into August type thing. And as the crop matures, ratings typically decline. I think the trade cares less about it. So we did see some corn harvest progress reported, as Mackenzie mentioned, 5% complete nationally. Where you're seeing the progress, of course, is in the South. Texas is already 75% done with corn harvest. Kansas is 14% done. Missouri, 13% done. Tennessee is 31% done with corn harvest. North Carolina is 33% done. Kentucky, 22% done. And then in your like I-State corridor, Indiana's 1%, Illinois, 2%. No progress reported in Iowa, the Dakotas, Minnesota, anywhere like that. So just getting started in the heart of the Corn Belt. What about wheat?
U.S. spring wheat harvest is ahead of schedule. The crop was 85% harvested nationally as of Sunday versus 70% the prior week and 83% on average. Analysts had projected harvest to be 83% complete. U.S. winter wheat planting was 6% complete through Sunday compared to 2% the previous week and 6% on average.
Definitely going to be some quality issues in some areas with the spring wheat crop. The market, of course, does not seem overly concerned about that, but I think that's a real thing.
U.S. corn shipments were mediocre last week. USDA reported that 33 million bushels of corn were inspected for export during the week ending September 5th. The print was down 13% from the previous week, but up 31% compared to the same week last year. Soybean shipments were at the lower end of expectations at 13 million bushels. The print was down 30% compared to the prior week and down 5.2% versus the same week last year. Wheat shipments were at the upper end of expectations at 22 million bushels. The print was down 2.7% from the previous week, but up 44% versus the same week last year.
Okay, this is what I alluded to earlier. So prime soybean shipping season is approaching very quickly. And this chart, I know it looks like spaghetti, but the idea is to illustrate when we ship the majority of our soybeans. We ship the majority of our soybeans. The biggest shipping months would be like second half of October into November and then December. Maybe you'll see a little bit of an uptick in January, February, but that's usually when we start shipping more corn out of the United States. And this is why the river is so important. I mean, we do ship some soybeans out of the PNW, but the river and the Gulf is really our bread and butter. That's the majority. And the river issues could be restrictive here if they don't improve and in short order. This window that you see on the screen here, and this is 10 years worth of data, the window from mid-October through the end of December, it's getting shorter and shorter every single year because Brazil is getting bigger and bigger every single year. So the next really 2 or 3 months are going to be very important in regard to determining exactly how many soybeans we ship out of the United States this year. My contention, based on what we know, the pace of new crop export sales, or now what would be current marketing year export sales, they're not where they need to be to hit USDA targets. So these next few months are going to be important.
We did have a flash sale of soybeans on Monday. U.S. exporters sold 5 million bushels of beans to China for delivery during the 24-25 marketing year. New crop soybean export sales have picked up in recent weeks, but remain the second worst in the last 10 years.
Yeah, China's been in for less soybeans than normal. I mean, they're doing routine stuff. This is routine business, less than routine business. Really need to see more. China still hasn't bought any corn for new crop delivery. I think most people expect it to stay that way. I think they had a decent crop and their supplies are adequate.
China began its anti-dumping investigation into Canadian canola imports on Monday. China alleges that Canada dumped an excessive amount of canola in 2023, causing damage to its domestic sector. Chinese imports of Canadian canola in 2023 made up 94% of total imports. The investigation comes as Canada prepares to impose a 100% tariff on Chinese EVs beginning October 1st, as well as a 25% tariff on imported Chinese steel and aluminum. China has also launched an anti-dumping investigation into EU pork imports and an anti-subsidy investigation into EU dairy imports.
When did we first talk about this? Last week?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so the only thing new in the headline, in the fine print, was that China said it's going to take like a year to complete this investigation, and because of that, the market is less concerned that the U.S. will be flooded with Canadian canola because it's not going to go to China. We're less concerned. So canola rallied yesterday. Soybean oil rallied yesterday, I believe, on this news, and that helped to drag the soybean market higher, but it's back lower this morning. What did cattle do yesterday?
They bounced back. Live cattle were up 120 to 242 higher. Feeders were up 342 all the way up to 385 higher. Box beef was mixed yesterday. Choice ended the day at 308.52. That was down 89 cents. Select ended the day at 298.49. That was up 237.
Outside market's pretty quiet. U.S. dollar's about flat. Stocks are about flat. Bonds are off just a little bit. Gold's up $2. Crude oil is down 61 cents in the October WTI, 68.09 last trade. Have a great day, guys. We'll talk to you on Wednesday.